Joining me now is Pennsylvania Congressman Joe Sestak, retired Admiral, 3-star, and is the highest-ranking former military officer ever elected to the Congress. No one knows more about this in the Congress than this man. Congressman, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time on this late edition of The Ed Show. Basically, from what you heard, what are your quick thoughts tonight on this?
I think that third objective that you mentioned that President brought out, partnership with Pakistan, is absolutely the critical one. This is about Pakistan and preventing it from being a failed state where there will reside a safe haven that the leadership of al-Qaeda lives today and can plan another 9/11. This is not about Afghanistan, but our troops need to be there for two purposes. If we want Pakistan to eradicate that threat, not just to them but to us, we have to be on that border so the 25,000 Taliban in Pakistan aren't able to go back and forth.
Congressman,
isn't what the president said.
Congressman, isn't this about nukes? I mean, if there aren't any nukes in that part of the world, we're not there. Is it fair to say that?
I would say we may not be there with the heft that we have brought there, because we may be able to get al-Qaeda with a different means. But those nukes, no, even more than that, those 2,000 nuclear-trained scientists in their program in Pakistan who have graduated from the most radical of universities have access to the knowledge and the radioactive material. If the 25,000 Taliban there can protect al-Qaeda and take that state down, this global war of terror and the cost and consequences 5-6 years from now will be much greater than today.
But Congressman, we have heard this before. 30,000 more troops, and now we've got a deadline of 18 months. And we got a divided caucus in the Democratic caucus. There's a lot of comments tonight of those who just do not support this mission at this point. What's going to be different? Explain to the American people tonight, if you can, Joe, what is going to be different this time around?
It's two things. Our ambassador there, General Eikenberry, who's an ambassador, was the general back when I came to Congress in 2007. He was saying we need more troops, and every general since then has said it. This president, for the first time, answered what the generals say they need. Number two, he has defined it not as building back the nation of Afghanistan. He has, although I had wished, Ed, he had put more emphasis upon it, that it is clearly al-Qaeda. We have to keep in mind this is not Vietnam, nor is it Afghanistan that the Soviet Union went into, and 250,000 Afghanis went against them. These Taliban in Afghanistan, 70% of them are those who are there for a job. This different mix, and this president for the first time in the last 8 years has done something that the last president did wrongly. That president had a chief of staff that said, in Iraq we do what we must, in Afghanistan we do what we can. Against the al-Qaeda that struck us? No, this president has said, I can't let that happen. But he also set a timetable. I have to be honest, Ed, I wish he hadn't set a definitive timetable. I wish he had provided an exit strategy of measurements. How successful are we being? And if we're not successful, triggers an exit to an alternative strategy. That would have been better.
How do you think the military is receiving this tonight? Do they like this president? There was a lot made in the last administration how everybody just loved Bush. Anybody in a uniform just loved Bush. What do they think of Obama? Does he win a lot of favor tonight?
This president is respected, and I defy anyone, from Ms. Palin to Vice President Cheney, to say otherwise. Look, we all have our personal opinions when we are in the military, but we are not only trained, we believe that we listen and respect our commander-in-chief. This president has stood tall for what's good for the nation, and the party is second.
What if he's wrong?
If he's wrong, then he should bear the consequences. But in war, and I don't know how to say this, but the fog of war is so hard that the due deliberation you saw this president give made sure that those men and women I once led into harm's way are being utilized to the best of his judgment. It's why we elected him. We didn't elect a general to run this war. We elected this president. And I honestly believe he has made the right decision. But if he has an exit strategy with benchmarks that can measure for the public public success or failures, then he will be better, having provided the public measurements of what the strategy is or isn't attaining.
And that is really going to be tough, isn't it, Congressman Sestak? I mean, you're looking at so many variables here. What is success? How can we trust Karzai? How can we trust a country that has been so torn up and ripped apart when it comes to tribal control? If the Taliban put down their arms tonight, we'd still have to be there because of Pakistan. That's what I heard. It's not just the Taliban. Obviously, it's Al Qaeda that's camping out in Pakistan. And the other variable is, how do we know Pakistan is going to be an honest broker in all of this? And this was a tough sell job. It's a lousy time to be president, that's for sure.
It's the best time to have someone who puts thought into this and doesn't just on their gut react. Here's what you also heard tonight, Ed. He said it's Al-Qaeda in Pakistan. We know there's a couple hundred. We know who their leaderships are. 2 measurements, the leadership and a decimation of as many of those 100. Second measurement is Pakistan's army with our financial support and covert support and trainers who are actually there today, beginning to move not just from South Waziristan, but into North Waziristan. Third measurement, how many of those Taliban, there's only 20,000 in Afghanistan, 70% of them are there for a wage. How many of them can literally be bought off? Ed, there are measurements, but I honestly believe that by having these measurements, you are then able to trigger the right alternative strategy or say we are making progress.
Congressman, great to have you with us tonight. I appreciate your time so much. For more